Your voice, feel the resonance in their heart, sound, feeling, big things, connection, senses that we don't respect enough, the subtle vibrations, the subtle sounds, the subtle feelings, the real language, the language of the heart.
Recovery is the doorway. Practice builds the bridge. Life is what you're training for.
That was great. I love that. Perfect. I'm here today with Ronald Gardner. We're going to talk a little bit about his life and his recovery and how he became the recovery athlete. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. Okay. Are you ready to jump on into it?
Let's jump on into it.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood, your life growing up, and how you were able to become who you are today?
I grew up in suburbia in Miami, Florida in the 70s and 80s. My life was pretty good up to about 7 years old. Both my parents were alcoholics and both my parents were police officers. Their disease started manifesting differently, and my father especially would become very violent. He would beat my mother, and I would try to go in and save my mom, and he would beat me. You know, I tried that numerous times, and then one day I just was so scared that I couldn't do anything, and I just started running, so I would run out the house.
Yeah.
You know, this is the early 70s, so people were different back then. Nobody was coming to save you. Everybody was like, what happens in the house stays in the house. It was different than society is today. Everybody knew what was going on. Everybody knew the beatings were happening. I had one family down the street that had a boat, and they would put little snacks and a cover in it for whenever I'd run away, I could go run to that spot. So I'm going to tell you about a particular event that was pretty traumatic for me. On July 3rd, 1976, we were having the bicentennial block party, and I was 9 years old. They stored all the balloons in my room. I'm a 9-year-old kid with thousands of balloons in my room. I was playing and happy and popping them, and my dad walked by the doorway of my room, and he saw me popping them. Well, he became enraged. He rushed me, threw me down, got on top of me, and just started punching me in my face.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm scared, hurt, crying. I managed to wiggle my hand out in front of my face, and he told me, son, I love you. I love you. Put your hand down. I put my hand down. He punched me in the face one more time and then told me, which I'll never forget, this is your first lesson. Never trust anyone.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's intense.
that's one of, not even the worst thing that happened, but that's kind of what my years look like from the age of 7 to around 14 or 15 when I was growing and I was big enough not to let him hurt me anymore.
Yeah.
Another occasion, this was happening. He was beating my mom, and I was done with it. My father was a big man. He was about 6'1", you know what I mean, 200 pounds. Police officer, was in Vietnam.
Wow.
I just literally was so over it and so enraged, and every little bit of, I don't know, this Hulk strength came out of me, and I just picked him up, and I was 135 pounds.
Yeah.
The reason I know that is because I was wrestling 135 pounds. So I picked him up, I squished him, and I threw him on the ground, and he laid there hurt and couldn't get up. And I just got so freaked out, scared, and I just started running, and I ran and I ran and I ran. But that was the last time he ever touched me. So I was in trouble with the law most of my life. I had a real hatred to all of police officers, men in general.
Yeah.
Now I can understand why, but I didn't really understand why then. I gravitated towards the wrong crowd. First it was the pot smokers and abused that until it didn't work. And then we found the harder drugs, and I eventually graduated to cocaine.
Yeah.
At about 18 or 20, we packed up. My mom packed up. I had a pregnant girlfriend, and we decided she was going to get away from my father, so we moved 3,000 miles away to San Diego.
Wow.
We had been going back and forth to San Diego pretty much my whole life because my mom had some close friends here. But she ran away and we ran away, and oh, I was introduced to methamphetamine.
Mm.
Yeah, that's where everything just spiraled downhill. There wasn't a sober day. There wasn't a thought of anything else but the next use.
Yeah.
That ended up with a long prison sentence from 1990 to 2015-ish. So,
Wow.
and I hadn't been sober in prison either. It was the perfect environment for my rage to thrive in.
Yeah.
There wasn't no healing. There was no, right, there was no help for me. It was helping the me that I created, the monster me.
Yeah.
Until like close to I was getting out, I met this woman in there that was getting her master's in psychology, and she ran a group, and it was called Abused Boys, Wounded Men.
Mm. Yeah.
And that kind of was like an eye opener, because let me tell you what, I was the prisoner. I would be in the SHU, which is a special housing unit, a lot of the time. So I was the guy that couldn't get along with the other prisoners, couldn't get along with the population of bad people. I had to be the worst person.
Yeah.
So I was in jail, in jail. After that lady had a few groups, man, it really got me thinking, right? It was kind of just a starter. I went to the SHU for something else. I got transferred. I read this book called The Power of Ted, and that book was like another block of me. In hindsight, another step for me actually to come out of it. Still drinking hooch and doing whatever drugs I could get in there, but it was just something that was inputted in my brain, if you will.
Yeah. So that book, you said it's the Book of Ted?
The Power of Ted.
The Power of Ted. What was that about?
That was about the drama triangle, the victim identity.
Okay.
It's essentially working on your identity, but it was just a powerful book for me.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. I get out and I was gone a long time. I was the most scared, frightened man that you could imagine. I was a little boy getting out to technology. The way people communicate is different. It was so scary. I wanted to go back so bad, so I did. They didn't prepare me for what it was going to look like, which is, I know I need to be a responsible person, but the prison system is a little skewed with their preparation for you to return, especially for people that have done long terms of incarceration. It's
Yeah.
really difficult to get out.
Yeah. You're in this world, right? Like it
Yeah,
just feels like a
yeah.
foreign world. Did you have anybody out here?
Yeah, I had my mom.
Yeah.
My mom has been the only one that's truly been there for me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Good. When you were out here, what did you do to go back in if you want to share that?
I just ripped and run. I didn't do what anything my parole officer said. Just kept peeing dirty. Essentially, he said, "I'm in. I got to lock you up." And I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's all you knew.
Yeah. In hindsight, it's such an skewed version of reality.
Yeah.
In prison, you have this idea of respect, and it looks a little something like this. Respect is, I don't stand close to you in line, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's not really respect, it's fear, because you don't stand close to that person in line because you don't want him to stick a knife in you or something violent.
Right.
So I had this skewed version of respect that was all violence was how you got respect.
Right.
Totally different from how I think now, or it's so hard. Like when I'm going through it, I believe this way, right? I believe with all my heart these things are like this, and that creates a reality that's not really reality,
Right.
but it's the reality for me.
Exactly. From through your experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, it's a conditioned experience, and that identity is just reinforced with all this evidence, and all the evidence is planted negatively. You don't even see any of the positive, right, for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got there. They sent me back. but they didn't send me back for what I wanted them to send me back for. The judge said, Mr. Gardner's done a lot of time. We're going to give him 6 months. And they killed my paper, so I had no parole. That's what killed means, but I had no parole, so I
Yeah.
had nobody to keep me in check. Something was brewing inside. I wanted something different. I just didn't know how to do it, and I was too scared to ask how to do it. I got me a little temp job. I was still kind of chipping, using a little bit, but not too much. I met my future wife there, still chipping and using, not like before, but it was breaking down. It was getting worse.
Yeah.
We ended up having my son. He was born, wasn't breathing properly. He came out, he cried, and then he was ashen, and then he wasn't breathing properly, so they sent him to the NICU unit. But I'm the one that noticed it. At that point, I didn't want this for him. I had no relationship with God, but I didn't know what else to do. All the nurses were running around, getting him, and I just went on my knees on the floor crying like just hysterically that I did not want this for him. What do I got to do? So I made a promise with a God that I had no relationship with. I tried to trade me for him, all the bargains we try to make. And my son ended up making it, and I ended up having to figure out how to stay sober. That is my clean date. His birthday is my clean date.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. But it was totally external motivation, right? So I started working. I got this good job working every day, exercising as much as I could. But I was solely using distraction to deal with this. I wasn't drinking or using, but I still had the behaviors of a person that was drinking or using. So the term would be I was a dry drunk.
Right.
And mind you, I'm going to meetings every day. For 3 years, I went to 12-step meetings every day. Over 1,000 meetings in 3 years, and I wasn't getting anything from it. The steps did not resonate with me. The third tradition resonated with me. And the third tradition states that the only requirement for this program is a desire to quit drinking or using. And I had that desire, right? I wanted something different, not at the time for me, but for my son. So, I was kind of faking it till you make it. I had a sponsor, but I handpicked a sponsor where I could just pretty much wiggle, right? So I didn't have to really do the hard stuff. I could just get the calls in, and that would be it. Going on a little bit, this thing called COVID happened that messed up a lot of people's lives. For me, it saved my life.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It saved my life because COVID took the work distraction out, took the gym distraction out, and then left me with, hey, what do I really got to do to stay sober? I don't have these distractions. I was being a jerk. Yes, I was sober. What do I do? I was introduced to Smart Recovery. I got their book. I read their book. It resonated with me. I used both modalities. The work really started happening, going to school for a business degree, and I said, what am I doing? And I want to help people. I want to give back. And I started my counseling, working in one spot and the next spot, and finding out a lot of times in each of these places that I worked, a lot of the times it was what not to do, when I get into a position. But it's still beneficial. I still learned,
Yeah.
and then eventually I came to the spot that we met.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people along the way, the counselors, the therapist, Alpha Project was a big part of my life. Even my last probation officer was amazing. There's just these moments that had happened in my life that made everything more clear, I guess.
Yeah. It was like they were like magical moments.
Magical moments.
Magical
But
moments.
I
The
do
aha
find that.
moments.
Yes, but I do find that my recovery wasn't built on one extraordinary moment. It
Yeah.
was built on thousands and thousands of ordinary moments.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes. The ability to look within. Did you turn the lens within? And, during
Uh,
this time as you're going through and you're doing the counseling, were you doing inner reflection?
I practiced the reflection every night. What I think really was super important for me was my perception. I looked through the lens of life, if you will, like a diamond has a bunch of facets. I was looking through life through that diamond, my whole life this way, and that's how I experienced life. Well, I found that if I could just look through it in another way, a lot of things change. Because, you go into treatment, they tell you all I got to change is everything. Well, that sounds, oh my God, how am I going to do that?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I look at things like that. My perspective changed. So therefore, a lot of things changed for me without me actually have to change in each and every one of those things.
Exactly.
A prime example of is I don't listen to the same music now as I did in my addiction. And that's not something I said I'm going to change the music that I listen to.
Right.
Right? Right? So
It just
I don't
doesn't
hang out with the
resonate.
same people. Maybe that's a little different because I did say I'm not going to do that. But there's a lot of these things that just changed when the shift of my perspective and perception changed.
Absolutely, because they no longer resonate with you because you're
No,
changing with your
no.
perception changing. You're actually changing too within.
Yeah. And I
That's
really am,
awesome.
I have two concepts that I like to use too, as well as I love the idea of counting your wins. I'm not speaking of outcome wins because you get the job, you got your degree. We don't give credit to all the little wins on the way there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And society's slanted towards the negative anyway. If you watch the news, it's 25 minutes of doom and gloom and maybe a little feel-good story in there. So we're
If
already
that.
conditioned to negative.
Yes.
And it's real hard to count the wins. Now, also, I have I like don't diminish your win. I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. I had a guy in the gym. He benched 185 pounds. He was brimming with joy, pride, everything, right? And then at the very end of this, him telling you how good it was, and you could see it on his face, at the very end, what he said was, I know it's only 185 pounds. So somehow we want to take away everything that you just felt over that because it was only this.
Right.
That really got me thinking, like, oh, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, we're trying to count the wins now, and now we're trying to make them not as much as they are.
Right.
For me, I have an identity shift. I don't have that identity that was built. I think it's getting back to my authentic self, the
Yes.
7-year-old boy that was running around with
I
his
love that.
dog and happy and curious.
You've peeled back the layers. You've done the work to peel the layers back to see what's who you actually really are, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
beautiful. That's so
And
beautiful.
we people have all these layers, if you will. Some of them might be perceived as not as bad or worse or whatever, but they're yours.
Yeah.
And I found that I connect with people now not on their story. I connect on the feelings of their story.
I love that.
Really
It's like a
helped me
subtle
out.
language now. You're comfortable enough to be vulnerable, which means that you can be open and receptive and patient and actively listen and actually feel. Whereas,
Sure.
like, for so many years, you were probably just shut down, so you couldn't feel anything.
Right. I really couldn't decipher the feelings. I just changed everything into anger.
Yeah.
Even a happy moment I could make angry.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Then how did you get from that point to writing the book?
The idea had been formulating a lot with my own recovery. I went through a program called Alpha Project. It was an old motel. There was a bunch of guys that were in there from jail, some of them from the streets or whatever. But on the side of the building, they had a weight pile.
Yeah.
And I just started using the weight pile, using the weight pile. I became motivated right at first, go there, and I just did it every day. And then something changed. I didn't have to be motivated anymore, right?
Yeah.
So the motivation gave me consistency. The consistency turned into something else called discipline. I learned this, right? I learned that through my exercise, I learned transferable qualities for me to use in other parts of my life. The motivation was key, but as I'm thinking, motivation is great. It's needed early on, but if we solely rely on motivation, what does that look like?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what motivation looks like. It looks like on December 31st, you got all these, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to exercise, and by January 20th, you're going to do it next year. That's what motivation looks like.
Yeah.
So if we solely rely on motivation, especially the same motivator, if we can change the motivation and keep constantly upping the motivation, that's helpful. But if we rely solely on motivation, it ended up not good for me anyway.
Right.
So I learned these steps at Alpha Project that, I'm like, there is something to this. In prison, I learned yoga. Started doing yoga out on the street. I became an instructor. Fast forward to where we met, I had all these ideas coalescing inside, and we did a few classes. I took the clients to the gym, but
Yeah.
all this while I'm gaining information. A lot of the information looked like this. With movement, people's anxiety level would drop some, cravings would drop some, confidence would go up some, the mood would shift. And the movement didn't have to be the gym, right? The movement just, it could be walking, it could be stretching, it could be mindfulness, it could be whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's where this idea just really started to form, and I just started to put pieces together. And so that's pretty much where the recovery athlete and the business itself, Fitness for Recovery, came in, because I live with what I have become through all the relationships, through all the clients that have sat in front of me and other staff that I've met. And I have all this data that has given me a focused idea of what I need to do. Recovery athlete is the bridge, connecting and working alongside every existing modality of recovery.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to replace anything. At its framework, it's like movement, value-based, reflection, pretty much structured wellness, right?
Yes. Awesome. And so then you started building that with the experience that you had, and then just started kind of collecting the information, or
Yes.
that's awesome. And then here we are now.
Yeah.
So here
Here
we
we are
are
now.
in the present moment. So we did a little time travel to find out more about who you are. Ron, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. That's quite the story you have. I have to say, it's amazing to see that you can come from being incarcerated and so shut down and full of rage to being the person that you are today. Just a very kind-hearted, caring, loving man who wants to help others, because you know
Well,
how hard it is. It's not an
yes,
easy
but
journey.
the person that you met, that I am, right, is that 7-year-old little boy,
Oh, that's so
right?
cute. That's so
That's
cute.
that 7-year-old little boy. And that's also came to me that this addiction changed everything, right? It changed that little boy.
Yes.
And so I'm not working on changing who I am, just who I have become.
Right. Or undoing all the things that you
Right.
adopted as real, true beliefs, and what you believed were how people are and how the world is. So your
Yeah.
entire perspective has changed, where, you could just be here now and you could be comfortable in your body, right? You're not
Yes.
running away anymore. And I think part of this is like embodiment, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
and when you have trauma, I think that we tend to jump out of our bodies, and it just takes time to get comfortable back in our bodies again, to feel strong and grounded and in the moment.
Yes. And for me, it takes time as well as community.
Yeah,
The community that I have is amazing.
that's
The
wonderful.
support system I have is amazing.
That's
And it's something that was created right with the simple first question of, I need help,
exactly. And
which
that's
isn't
it.
easy, which isn't an
No,
easy
no.
question at first, right?
No, no, especially with where you came from. It's considered to be vulnerable and weak,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Vulnerable is weakness, and
Yeah.
from
It's
where you came from, and that's something
right.
that, like, the last thing that you do according to the
Right.
creed and the system, right? The penitentiary, like, but then you've made it okay, and it's amazing, and I think that you're just going to help so many people with this, and I'm so proud of you, and I support you 100%.
Thank you so much. Vice versa as well. I mean, you're a big part of it. Your creativity, the smile that you would always bring, even when stuff was a little rough, the support that you gave everybody there, not only the clients, but staff as well. Very supportive.
Thank
You're a big part of my life.
Oh, thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. And
I appreciate you.
yeah.